Blaine simple. He's awesome. But let's check this out since we're on
this video is sponsored by my Anime into D&D homebrew packs. Every month comes a new package chock full of cool anime-themed content for your D&D 5e games. We're slowly branching into every anime, manga, and light novel-themed idea out there, with patrons getting the best deals on all the newest content. If any of this sounds interesting, you can check out the new website down below. And with that said, let's get right on with the video. D&D horror stories have grown to be a dominant force here in the community. Just to make sure we're all on the same page here, D&D horror stories are exactly what they sound like. Horrific D&D campaigns that contain some of the weirdest, disturbing, and downright illegal events that could ever happen in a tabletop gaming space.
Yeah, you know, like, well, first I was going to comment, it definitely has blown up in the scene of the D&D community. People just really enjoy them. But what he was just mentioning here at the end, that like illegal stuff, like I just saw like the most craziest thing. It was like player has like in the game, right? Not in real life. But in the game, it's like a player role plays relationships with a dog. Like, really? You serious? Like, that is just like, why? You know what I mean? Like, that's ridiculous. Why are you going that far with stuff?
We have the racists, the weeaboos, the kinky furries, the edgelords, the creeps, the criminals, the rule breakers, and everyone in between. Sometimes the DM is the problem. Sometimes it's the players. D&D horror stories are known for their shock factor because you never know what's coming next. Around 2 years ago, I can barely recall this type of content even existing on YouTube, and then all of a sudden, bam! Crit Crab, All Things D&D, Den of the Drake, Critical Kunik, and a bunch of other creators all diving into the game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them, and that's cool that they put D&D Dodge there. There you go, D&D Dodge. So he seemed like a cool dude when he was like still only had like 100 subscribers and whatnot. So he's definitely moving up. So awesome. But yeah, I was gonna say, really at the end of the day, these are all stories about people, right? Not necessarily what's happening bad in the game, which I thought was first. It's more about the person, right? Somebody in the group did something to somebody else or to the whole party, right?
Of other creators all diving into the game. These YouTubers would search for spicy stories on Reddit to then read out loud on their platform. Their go-to spots would be r/RPG and D&D horror stories, where a lot of the craziest stuff would be posted. Now, even though this origin story may seem simple enough, there's a lot of controversial opinions around the subreddits, each YouTuber involved, how they get their content, and the part that defamation and money have to play in all of this. You thought this was gonna be a funny, quirky video, but it was me, Blaine! Yeah, well, considering that we're talking about some YouTubers' livelihoods here, my wisecracking will be toned down in the hopes that you can leave this video a bit more informed than when you joined. So get comfy and let's begin. Gosh,
yeah, and as I was gonna say, I think that's very important to like just understanding, right, the reasons behind things when it comes to these type of stories, not just like taking them at face value. It's definitely important.
Liking this analysis to be like 40 minutes long, but I know it's only gonna be like 8. You know the website Reddit? Yeah, I know, pretty small platform. Not a whole lot of people know about it. It's used primarily for browsing cute pictures of cats, funny memes, and secret forbidden sauce. However, on June 2015, in an even more
that just reminds me, I've never been a huge Reddit user, but like definitely the censor stuff. I just remember freaking a buddy of mine in college just sending me this link, and it just was like, an image that you can't get out of your head. If you recognize what this is just off the bat, then yeah, it's crazy. So careful about Reddit, okay? Just be careful of what people send you from there sometimes, okay?
More obscure corner of the internet sprouted r/D&D horror stories. Now, a take I always hear are from the people who can't enjoy any of the content purely because of the way Reddit itself encourages successful postings. If you want to get your story upvoted, it's gotta be engaging, thrilling, creepy, and weird. So obviously, if you want the story to grab a lot of attention, you need a firm hook to lure readers in. And what 100%. Better way to design a hook than by lying? For every honest story, there's always the chance for one to be filled with false information. And for some Redditors, it doesn't matter if the story they write is completely fake or not, so long as they can farm their internet points and move on. Who's gonna go out of their way to double check the story? Who even can double check the story? Nobody knows anything about the OP besides the unverifiable details they put in their posts. Readers just need to assume that everything ever posted on the site is factual and move on. It gives the
Yeah, 100%. Like, don't just trust everything that's out there. Like some people are really good writers and they know how to manipulate it so they get the attention. And that's the name of the game. And, you know, when it comes to advertising, is like really doing something catchy to grab your eye get your attention, get you hooked.
The original poster complete authority over everything in the story, which can end up having some less than savory conclusions. In the case where the OP is obviously an unreliable narrator, it falls on the community to pick apart the post and figure out if the poster was the problem all along. Dang, that was a lot of peas. Most of the time, nobody cares though, so all the hot garbage mingles with the good content, and you can't tell what's decent anymore. It's like a beautiful wedding cake that somebody just dumped sand all over. Sure, if you try really hard, you can get a few spoonfuls of yummy cake, but most of the time you'll be trying to scrape the sand off and still end up chewing grains in the process. So horror stories are a mixed bag, and the way Reddit works as a platform just encourages it. Regardless, you now know about the wacky shenanigans of Reddit, so now we can get into the YouTuber side of things. Storytime channels existed long before the rise of Reddit story readings and were the main driving factor behind their success. People like listening to stories on the internet, and even though a large majority of the videos would just be moving text on a screen, viewers still tune in. I know I do.
Yeah, and like literally everybody loves a good story. The better you can tell your story, the more people are going to be engaged and listen. So yeah. I was just thinking about how this one guy was saying like that they don't have any good stories. And it wasn't a father or anything. It was just like an older person told them, hey, it's because like you haven't wrote down the things of all the times you did something exciting. He said like document, like write them down or something, take a picture or write them down on your phone where you can document it. And essentially, and just remember it so that way you can tell those stories, right?
Drawing a new YouTube video, knowing it'll only make me minimum wage, I like to listen into some D&D horror stories to keep me occupied. My eyes are focused on drawing, while my ears get to be blissfully cradled as the narrator talks about some D&D character's furry pooping diaper problem. Horror story YouTubers filled a niche that was deeply needed. Dramatic, long-running, easy-to-produce content that was simple for new listeners to jump into at any point. At the beginning, I wasn't too sure if this type of content was the stuff for me. But after my videos began taking longer than 40 hours to complete, my YouTube feed dried up and I was...
Yeah, just so you know, YouTube videos take, like editing. It's the editing that takes a long time. Sometimes shooting can take a long time, but if you're looking to do YouTube and if you don't have any skills in editing, like you're learning from like brand new. It's like you're learning how to crawl and then you're learning how to walk. But in editing, it takes a while. And literally I have done videos where I will spend about 40 hours per video and I felt like I was getting nowhere. Now I just try to simplify it as much as I can and still make it entertaining for you guys. So
left with horror.
So hats off to all YouTube creators and, D&D creators here on YouTube that are, and anyone who makes videos consistently, like, especially the small ones, right? But once you're kind of bigger, you can hire an editor and I'm hoping one day help me out. Help me out so I can hire an editor so I can create better content for you guys. But most of the smaller ones, even if they have, 50,000, 100,000, you just saw that he showed his revenue. It said something around like, 300, in a month's time. That's not enough to hire an editor. That's some gas and groceries. And he has a pretty big channel. He has a great channel. In my opinion.
Horror stories being the only D&D content I could watch that wasn't the entire history of Baldur's Gate. Now, in a nutshell, horror story YouTubers usually open their videos with a brief introduction, some teasers of the most interesting parts of the stories, and then jump right into the bulk of the content, which is the Reddit post. Afterwards, the YouTuber gives their own brief opinions on the story, and the video ends. A single episode could last between 10 to 20 minutes, which is more than enough for those delicious mid-roll ads and a happy YouTube algorithm. Simple, right? Oh golly gee, I sure wonder how the internet will get upset this time. Dear insert D&D horror story channel here. You are in violation of stealing the stories written by Redditors, reading them, and then profiting off of other people's work. You are a lazy content creator who doesn't deserve the money or attention you've gained on the platform. Yours truly, a Redditor. Yeah, almost nobody I've brought this up to agrees with this. Some of them just like listening to horror stories, some just enjoy browsing Reddit, but everyone agrees that if you get permission from the OP and add something of value to your video like critique or voiceover, there shouldn't be a problem. People who think horror story YouTubers are evil need to find a more productive way to waste their time, because this opinion is wrong on every level. Even if you might think that the creators are lazy, you're still wrong. People may like to listen to horror stories because of the narrator's personality, voice flow, the story being told, or the reader's opinions afterwards. Finding a good story to record, recording it well, sharing your take on the story, adding video graphics, and editing this all together is transformative work. And doing this every week like most of them do takes serious effort. At one point, I was actually on...
Yeah, 100%. Like, so when I was in preparation for this live stream here, I was like, what would it take to like just change my channel to be like a D&D horror story type of thing, right? And like, 'cause it just seems so simple, and like you can just take this image and make it scroll up and do the voiceover. And I think right now, as far as my video skills go with that type of stuff, is you got to find the right stories for the type of video that you want to attract, right? It has to be a good thumbnail, a good title to attract people. So you got to search around. So maybe you get sometimes lucky, maybe 1 hour. Sometimes it takes you longer. Let's say 3 hours just for that. Then you got to organize it in a way for your video. Maybe you already have your script after a while. You might say the exact same thing every once in a while, change it a little bit, but the filming it like might take you, and doing the voiceover, you might stutter a lot of times. So you got like, I know like I stutter sometimes, or I don't get my words out 100% correctly. So now you gotta go through and edit out every single time that you messed up or repeated a word so that so it sounds clear for the person. And then, some of these YouTubers, some do more than others, have really good animation, kind of like, Blaine Simple, his VTuber type thing. Like he spends time, right, to make sure it's all animated. Some other ones, not as much. So depending at that level of skill you're at, it just might take you more or not. So yeah.
On the bandwagon that horror story channels barely put any effort into their videos, but then I realized just how much work goes into each of these factors, and I had no other feeling but respect for them.
Yeah, so I would say like overall, I would put at least like at my skill level right now with all videos, maybe like 10 hours for one video that might be 10 minutes, like 10 hours for 10 minutes of work. And some of these videos are like 20 minutes. So imagine that double. Maybe not double, maybe put it at 12.
Endless torment of people demanding content to be a certain size, shape, and quantity is frankly terrifying. Personally, I haven't received any backlash for my lack of videos in the past, most likely because I add drawings to some of my stuff, which gives it the illusion of being higher quality. But that doesn't excuse the blatant stigma that other creators have to burden. If there's one thing I could agree on with the Redditors though, it's that D&D horror story channels don't have a whole lot of time to get personal with their viewers, expand their content into other horizons, or do anything that isn't a horror story. I mean, sure they could, but their subscribers have been watching the same format of content for ages now, and changing that up is the fastest way into the algorithm graveyard.
Okay, that's interesting to hear. And it makes sense. People who watch D&D horror stories probably not only watch D&D horror stories, but it's like, I feel like it's one of those pastimes, like reading a book. There's a lot of people who read books, but I know I don't. Like, I'm more of a TV watcher, so like, if you're somebody who listens to D&D horror story, you probably do it on the regular, and you're not out, you are doing your own thing and watching new stuff, but like, you enjoy it, so you go back to them. So that's something interesting I didn't consider, that those creators who do that don't really have time for other things. Unless they do have a video editor that can do all the hard work, and then they can just go relax and do other stuff.
Just the curse of having your entire channel revolve around a single concept. If you genuinely like a creator and really want to support their stuff, giving them space and checking out their newest projects, regardless on the topic, is the best way to do it. So to summarize, D&D horror story YouTubers are passionate creators that brought a new form of content to the platform. Although the questionable validity of the stories they read is always a factor, the stories are interesting to engage with and a treat to binge. So long as approval is gained and credit is given, there's no reason to hate on anyone in this community for making their videos. The one thing we can all hope for is that these YouTubers can continue to enjoy making their content, and always have the freedom to branch out their channels or take breaks if the repetitiveness of the job ever kicks in. If you couldn't already tell, I'm on the YouTuber side here. The RPG horror story subreddits have had their way for a bit too long now, and with someone like me who's been a passionate member of the Storytime community for a while, it was about time I stepped in and said my piece. If you agree, then definitely smash that like button so we can spread this video around and offer support to these creators. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you haven't already, then definitely check out my homebrew packs using the link down below. Consider subscribing if you're new, and I will see you all next time.
Yeah, so for sure, when I clicked on this video, I didn't even think that it was gonna be about that, right? We were looking for just like, hey, let's check out some D&D horror stories and let's see what you guys think about them. But like, really, this is a whole different outlook on the stories and the people who write them and the people who, at least here on YouTube, people who make those videos. So yeah, I think really great stuff. Let me know what you guys think of that. I think that was a really great video there by Blaine Simple.